A close encounter of the first kind is one that centers upon a visual sighting. Hynek investigated first-kind encounters in 1983 in New York State. Local residents and commuters just 40 miles from New York City had been reporting sightings of an unusual object in the night skies for over a year and a half. Sightings were reported on at least 50 separate nights during the 18-month period. Over 9,000 eyewitnesses, lawyers, teachers, CPAs, advertising executives, nurses, and factory workers reported seeing the unidentified phenomena. Newspapers and television almost weekly carried reports of the sightings. From different places throughout the area, eyewitnesses all reported seeing the same thing.
I looked up, and right over my head, virtually, it wasn't far up, it was right over my head and very still, there was a rim of lights in the shape of a triangle.
It was just a tremendous object. It was anywhere from wingtip to wingtip, about 50 or 60 yards.
These were very, very unusual lights. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and so I pulled my car over and I had to take a look.
I mean, he would drive down the road and look up in the sky.
Some people, like Bob and Lori Pozzouli, were determined to film the object.
And then one night, he spotted this one round object. And that's when he called me, and he said, quick, let's get the camera. And we did.
Oh, good God. I don't know.
Not quite.
I'm going to tell you something, honey. I don't know what the hell it is.
It's rotating.
Bob and Lori photographed this unidentified flying object near their home in Brewster, New York. Bob is a vice president in a Manhattan computer firm. Some of their friends and Lori's parents thought they were crazy, despite this photographic evidence.
Yeah, it's turning very, very slowly.
9,000 odd people have seen this thing, or whatever it is, and they all just can't be crazy.
Bob and Lori have 2 children. They are concerned about what they saw in the sky. They also wonder why the government hasn't investigated the event. Their concern is shared by David Scarpino, an accountant who works in New York City. Scarpino, a family man, has publicly called for a government investigation. He and others, like Bill Healy, a meteorologist at the county airport, made this demand at a town meeting. Public furor has been led by County Clerk Dennis Sant. Sant feels that a government investigation is indicated by the fact that eyewitnesses have all reported seeing the same thing.
You know, the movement was almost like a probing movement. It was very slow, and it stopped periodically and stationary, where it just came to a standstill, and then it would move to another position, and the movement from one position to another was just extremely slow.
Now, the speed at which it was going at that point was very slow, because I had to walk at a very slow, deliberate gait to keep up with the lights. Every step I took, it moved a little bit.
It moved in a very straight line, very slowly. There was absolutely no noise.
When I walked away from it, at that point, it started to rotate virtually, almost as it was on an axis. It didn't make a big loop. It just rotated.
It appeared, as I said, to rotate in the sky, change lights. Aircraft, I don't care how well precise you want to be in flying those suckers, you're not going to be able to make them move 90 degrees. All right, this thing did apparently rotate. You can't do that with aircraft.
Could it have been an aircraft or many smaller light planes flying in formation? The media attention given the sightings prompted 6 pilots at a local airport to try to prove that it could be just that. Amused by the idea of UFOs, the pilots planned and flew at least 18 daring nighttime missions, flying in formation, sometimes without lights. This hoax fooled at least some of the eyewitnesses, but not Bob and Lori. They claimed that in addition to photographing the UFO, they also videotaped the light airplanes as they enacted their hoax.
There are 6, and the lead one has his 3 lights on. Everybody else only has 2. Did you hear the engines?
Some UFO investigators agree that many of the reported sightings were probably of the hoax. But some eyewitnesses, they say, were clearly able to differentiate between the hoax and the unidentified object.
As it was coming over, there was a star in the sky, and as the lead light went under that star, right behind it, you could still see the star, which meant it was not a solid object. And as it was going overhead, you did hear engines. All right, now, what kind of aircraft engines, I don't know, but you did hear aircraft engine noise.
Engine noise, different lights, and different flying movements, UFO proponents say, clearly make the airplanes IFOs, identified flying objects. But this object, or objects, remains unidentified for many. Some eyewitnesses refuse to accept the possibility that these are also the lights of the airplanes.
I know what it wasn't. It wasn't an ultralight. It wasn't a blimp. It wasn't gas. No one's tried to tell me what it was, but I know what it wasn't.
Investigators have subjected the videotape images of the hoax and the unidentified lights to various computer analyses. By digitalization of the images, they hope to be able to determine if the area between the lights of the UFO was solid, indicating one craft. The airplanes, they hope, would show night sky in the center of the lights. Physicist Al Hibbs.
Pictures like this, night sky, a few lights, taken with a television camera that was perhaps being moved, not deliberately, but accidentally while I was taking the picture. There's really nothing you can say about these things. In one case, a very good explanation is offered, and I see no reason to disbelieve it. In the other case, there's no explanation. I certainly can't offer one. I would love it if some UFOs were extraterrestrial objects being piloted by extraterrestrial beings. I think that'd be the most marvelous discovery of the history of man. I'd love to have that be true. So I'm not going to say that foreign objects, artifacts made by intelligent creatures in the solar system, I'm not going to say that's preposterous. I'm going to say it is so unusual, so immensely important, that I'm not going to assign any sightings like this to that phenomenon without a lot more data.
Insufficient data, the object remains unidentified. For government officials, therefore, it is of no consequence. But for the New York eyewitnesses, the question of what it is remains. They find the government's apparent lack of interest puzzling.
The government didn't come to me as a rational individual. As an accountant, I like concrete things. I like evidence. For them to say that I didn't see anything without really talking to me and investigating it means that they were trying to hide something. And that was my feeling from the very beginning.
They know something, okay? They know something. Either they know that there's something up there, and they want to investigate it themselves and don't want other people trying to handle it, or they're doing something. But if they're doing something, then let people know about it.